Hello, I'm Beth and I read, but if you read my handle differently, you are more than welcome to stay. One of my worst habits as a reader is that I start series and then continue to start more series before finishing any of the ones that I've currently read. It is something that I've been actively working on for the last year or so, and I just haven't really been getting any better. I've created a spreadsheet, and it's the tool that I use to help me track my reading in lots of different areas, and one of the key ones is working towards finishing series or getting them closer to being completed before I get new ones started. I currently have 28 series that are on my in progress list. That is either book series that I am actively in the middle of reading or that I am literally about to start for whatever reason. I've added them to this total because within the next month or two I will be starting them. So if you're interested in learning a bit about my problematic behaviours in the 28 series that I am in the middle of, stick around. My spreadsheet is literally down here, my laptop's here, which is why you'll find me looking down throughout the video. So I thought I'd break these down by genre. My primary genres are romance and fantasy, but I do dabble in a couple of others. I've also got a few young adult series that I'm in the middle of, as well as I have divided smut and romance as two different genres because I do feel like some book series are really just focused on the spice is the main point of the story or the main element of the story, whereas romance I find that it tends to be more character driven and about the relationship. For me it's really clear, there is a clear distinction, and sometimes I'm in the mood for spice and sometimes I'm in the mood for romance. So category by category, let's start with the young adult series. So first on my list is The Hunger Games. So anyone, particularly anyone who was reading when I was reading growing up, is gonna know The Hunger Games. It's a dystopian series where societies we know had kind of fallen apart, and instead of having like states or whatever, they were divided into 12 different districts. The ruler of the districts is the capital, and the capital decided in order to control the population, we would have an annual Hunger Games where 2 children, a male and a female from each of the districts, would be collected to compete in an arena battle to the death every single year as a way to honor like previous wars that had nearly broken down society. If you haven't read The Hunger Games, like honestly, what are you doing? I think it is one of the best series anyone has ever read. I am genuinely shocked that Australian school curriculum does not use this series to study. It is so interesting, particularly the first one. A year or two ago, we had Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes come out, which is a prequel series starring President Snow, one of the characters from the original trilogy. And then literally yesterday, Sunrise on the Reaping came out, which is another prequel starring Haymitch. I haven't reread the series in preparation for it. My understanding / predictions is that this is Haymitch's story. Haymitch is one of the previous winners. He won the 50th Quarter Quell, so every 25 years there's like a big games. My prediction for this book is that we're going to see Haymitch as a young boy be selected and compete in these games. We also see in the original trilogy, Haymitch has used alcohol as a coping mechanism to help him come to terms with the fact that every year he has to meet and befriend and get to know these kids who inevitably get killed. My prediction is that half of the book will be spent in the Quarter Quell, which I'm really excited to see more of what the games might look like. But I also predict that we'll see about half of the book exploring his psychology after the events of the Hunger Games and his change in character. Like I kind of expect Haymitch to be a bit more of a kind of a charming, almost Finnick style character in the start of the book, and see how he progresses to a bit more of a grumpy old man towards the end of it. I can't talk about what's in there, that's just my predictions. It is literally on its way to be delivered here today, and I'll be buddy reading it with my sister in about a month's time. It's going to be torture to not read it, but I'm super excited about it. The next series is The Inheritance Game. So in this one we meet Avery. Avery's kind of from a bit of a problematic family, and then she gets contacted by some random being like, hey, you're in a rich man's will, do you want to come? And she's like, I don't know any rich men, but sure. Turns out she inherits like the entire estate from this elderly gentleman who she really doesn't have anything to do with, and she meets his 4 grandsons. She can't inherit because she's like young, she's like 16 or something. She can't inherit until she reaches a certain age. You've got different people either influence her with their power and authority. Her life is literally in danger because some people are seeking to end hers in order to gain the power and the money and the wealth that comes with his estate. And there are a series of games in this. So Rich Granddaddy Mastermind, who created these kind of escape room style games for his family. It is a young adult series. There's a little bit of romance in it, but just like the whole concept of the games, I found really fun. I enjoyed the story in the original 3 books that I read, but there is a spin-off series that's come as a result of that. I have the first of those, but I have not started it yet. And to be honest, I'm just more interested in starting other series than I am in continuing this one at this rate. So I see this being on my list for an indefinite period of time, but I am not willing to DNF yet. So gonna keep it sitting here waiting for the right time to be read. The next series is just my most favorite author, Chaos Walking by Patrick Ness, and this is a really cool concept. So this is like a dystopian world. I don't believe it's set on Earth, I think it's another planet, where like a disease has come to the planet. It's something where it's targeted the male and female population differently. For the females, it was a death sentence, and it's wiped them out, and so there are no females left. But for the men, the consequence of having this disease is that they can like telepathically read each other's thoughts, and I'll try and find it. There is a really cool use of font in this that helps you to understand just how much people are getting into each other's heads. Like, it just does such a good job of trying to show you what living in a world where you are constantly hearing everyone's thoughts at the same time, the chaos that would instill in a person. Because that's our world. We follow Todd. Todd's like the youngest member of his group. He has a dog and he can hear his dog's thoughts, which is really cool. And so Todd's out one day and he meets a young girl. He's never seen a girl before. And the adventures kind of start from there. I love the way that Patrick Ness writes and the way that he crafts stories. And I cannot justify to you why I haven't continued this series. But next year he's doing a Chaos Walking spin-off trilogy. So I will definitely be reading this in the next kind of year or so. I have both books 2 and 3, and I'm planning to continue reading this in the near future so I can prepare for those new releases. I can't tell you why I haven't read it at this point. I love his writing. I think I've just focused on other things. When he came to Australia last time, I was sick and I couldn't go and I was devastated. And he personally promised me he would be coming back. So I need to read these to make sure that I'm prepared for when he inevitably comes back and talks about the spin-off trilogy. I'll go into the smut series next because they're the ones that I primarily read on my Kindle. So we've got the longest one I've been reading is the Deal with a Demon series by Katie Roberts. This is one of the first like smut series that I got started into. I think it was like the second one, and I'm still reading it. I've read the first 3, and the whole concept is like this demon guy is working with a whole bunch of monstrous creatures from like the underworld, and he's kind of approaches women who have kind of problematic lives and offers them a better solution to become a bride of these kind of political leaders from this underground. And so there's a whole bunch of different creatures. I read the Kraken first, there's a dragon, I read the gargoyle, and there's a demon and a succubus, and then something else. There's 3 more books to read. They're really short, and it is something that I'm planning to continue later this year. Just punch them out and see how they go. They're not like the best books I've ever read, and they certainly are fun. And if you're someone who enjoys monster romance like I do, totally get into this one. It's just a fun time. The next one I've got is the Black Bear Clan by Zoe Ashwood. It's an 8-book series at this point, each following a different human woman and an orc male. I picked this up because Zoe was coming to Babe. She's since pulled out, which is why I haven't continued this series actively, but it is something that I'm planning to continue reading. It's more of a palate cleanser kind of between book series. I don't fully remember. The orcs are in the world and they're kind of hideous monsters. The humans don't like them. Our girl was like sold to them as a like political prize. She's like the king's wife, and she gets to know him. Turns out the orcs are pretty great and she really likes them and she falls in love with them, and they bang a lot. Gonna have to reread the first one before I pick up the rest of the series to continue, but just really enjoyed it. Definitely recommend this one for fans of Ice Planet Barbarians. Really simple story, but really fun. Cosmic Kiss by Cleo Evans. Cleo Evans, again, an author I read because she's come to Babe. She's since pulled out, hence why I haven't continued reading the series. This first one, so much fun. So our main girlie is a burlesque performer in like a celestial space burlesque performance, and so she's doing her like dancing and acrobatics one night, and then like an accident's about to happen, and these 2 guys from the audience, not just guys, 2 like aliens, come to like save her. Our main girl is more humanoid. We've got one dude who's very kind of, think like the Avatar big blue aliens, and then we've got one dude who's more like, his skin's kind of like crystal but he's got tentacles. Just a really sweet Why Choose Romance. And then there's subsequent books in the series which I'm definitely keen to read. Again, books that I will read as palette cleansers between other books. The next series, Duskwalker Brides by Opal Rain. Oh my god, I love these monsters and this series. So I've talked about this before. Basically the Duskwalkers are these kind of demon adjacent creatures. They're massive, like they're huge. They have kind of like skeletal forms on the outside of their body. They don't have a face. They have a skull with antlers and glowing eyes. And so in our first book we meet Orpheus. Orpheus is a Duskwalker who works with the humans and offers protection in exchange for a young lady to be his bride. And so we meet Rhea. Rhea's believed to be cursed by her village. Her family was killed by demons when she was young, and so her village is like, let's get her out of here, let's give her to the Duskwalker. A story about them falling in love. There's stories that because they're not humanoid, the love is never based on how someone looks. It's based on their actions and how they treat people. And I just loved that component so much. I loved the way that they got to explore their physical relationship, the way that their emotional relationship developed, the way that the overarching plot initiated in this book and how it continues through the series. So I'm up to book 5 in the 8-book series. This is one I'll be finishing this year. I've only got the 5th one, and then I'll be collecting the rest of them from Opal. She's coming to Babe. So I'll be collecting the last 3 to read later this year. I absolutely love it, and I feel like this is one of those ones that does walk the line between romance and smut. The spice is such an important part of the storytelling between the characters. It falls into the smut category. Much the same as Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. 100% of credit for making me read this goes to my roommate Tiana. She read it and was like, Bethany, you have to read this. I put it off for like a couple months. Like I didn't read it straight away. And then I read it and I was like, what is in this book? It is the weirdest concept and I love it so much. So we meet Georgie. Georgie is kidnapped with like 10 other women on a spaceship, and the aliens that kidnap them, they're not so nice. We see them kind of go through a bit of a rough time, and then the spaceship crashes and it kills the aliens that were on board, and our girls are left on an ice planet where they literally don't know anything. Most of them are in like their night clothes. So Georgie takes one for the team and she decides to go out and try and find some help. And she meets Vector. Vector is the chief of a local kind of tribe. A disease came through their village and like killed through so many of the people there, most of the women. It's kind of a very primitive style village. They don't have a huge volume of technology, and they really just want to see their population happy and thriving, and there's not really any kids or anything there. So he sees an opportunity like, oh, what if, you know, we could, you know, make some babies together. But the cool thing is, with the way that this world works, in order to survive on the planet, they have what's called a cooey. It's like a bug that goes inside you. It helps to keep you warm. A fun side effect of this bug is that it kind of works to help find your soulmate. It works to find someone who you are sexually compatible with in order to procreate. It sounds weird. I understand it sounds really weird, but it is just the most sweet, consensual, beautiful, romantic series of stories. They are short. They are fun, the world building is amazing, and I was really impressed by that. Even though these are just a series of short, fun, smutty stories, the overall plot that continues to develop through the series is just very impressive. I'm up to book 8 in the series. I just love them. This is like a comfort series that whenever I'm just feeling stressed, upset, or moody, I go back to my Barbies. I've got another couple of monster series. I'm not going to talk about them in depth. I've got Monsters Love Curvy Girls by Michelle Mills, a series that I read as a way to try and help me fall more in love with my curvy body, because I was really struggling with the way that I see myself, and the way that this was written really celebrates women with bigger bodies and has wonderful demonic male aliens who enjoy a big body. Then I've got, this is called the Monstrous Meet Cute series by Wendy Goff. I read this one when I went on a cruise because I wanted a monster romance to read on my cruise. It was an absolute delight. Plot wise, this is not going to give you huge amounts of plot. It's sweet, it's not a huge amount of romance, it's just fun and it's silly. And I'd like to continue the series, but again, because I'm in the middle of, you know, heaps of these different ones where I'm planning to read them as kind of palette cleansers, I'll get to it when I get to it. And the last one is The Wicked Villains. This is a series that is heavily inspired by Disney villains. Tej and I read this as a kind of adjacent buddy read. We each picked a book in the series to read. So she read I believe she read the Hercules one, and I read the Little Mermaid inspired one. I had an absolute ball with this one. If you are not aware, I'm a bit of a Disney nerd, so this kind of tickled the Disney adult part of my brain. And so these are a series of interconnected romances, and they are getting a traditional release with this beautiful artwork. I think I'll do similar to what I did with Ice Planet Barbarians and read this one with the physical releases as they come out with the beautiful new artworks. We're about halfway through, team. It's time to stretch your legs before we get into the romance section. First one is the Rose Hill series by Elsie Silver. The reason I read any of her books was she was coming to Babe. Sadly, she's pulled out. But I started with this series because I saw somewhere she posted that you should start with this series and then move into the Chestnut Spring series. I've read the first two in this series. I loved Wild Love. I loved Wild Eyes, and Wild Side is here. It was on my March TBR, but I think this one's going to move into April. But really excited to read this one, and that will be another one that I will be caught up to date until the next release. I believe it's September this year. Next series, the Boys of Tommen series. I feel like every reader on the planet has read this series. I read the first one and the first one only, and people are like, oh my god, how did you only read the first one? How did you not jump into the second one? Did you see the size of this? It's fun, it's good. I gave it 4 stars. But it took us over 700 pages to get a kiss between 2 high schoolers. Look, I like a slow burn, but like that was ridiculous. I think part of it is to do with the fact that I genuinely lean towards adult romance as opposed to kind of high school teenage romance, but I did still enjoy it. It's one that I buddy read with 2 of my friends on Bookstagram, and I really enjoyed buddy reading it with them. Planning to do a reread of this one next year and continue through into the other series because I do want to get to the stories and share with what other people have read. It's just not on my priority TBR for this year. The next romance series is Citrus Cove by Clio Evans. Same Clio Evans who did the Cosmic Kiss series I mentioned earlier. I was actually an ARC reader for the first book in this series. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't like the best thing I've ever read, but it's something I'd like to continue reading. She's released books 2 and 3, so I think I'll continue this one. They're all on KU, so this is something I can see myself continuing, but it's probably, again, not a this year priority because there are other things that I want to read. And the last one on my romance list is the Gummy Bear Orgy series by Rebecca Rennick. I've only read the first book so far. There are 3 currently out, but Rebecca's coming to Babe, so I will be collecting the physical copies of these books from her at Babe and continuing this series once I have them in my possession. I don't hugely know about like how the stories are interconnected, other than the protagonist of each series is like obsessed with a colour. So I've read the first one, literally obsessed with pink. Like her hair was pink, she wore pink clothes, she made pink boba, she had pink tattoos, and it was just a really sweet contemporary romance. Bit of a grumpy sunshine kind of thing going on, and I'm keen to continue the rest of the series. But the second one is a Halloween based romance. I've been meaning to read it for the last 2 years and just have put it off. I think that one has to be on my priority TBR to read for Halloween this year. The next section, so this is all fantasy. The next 4 I'm going to talk about, I only started them because they are part of my book clubs, so it's kind of frustrating when this year I had such intentions to get in and work on the series I'm currently reading, but thanks to, you know, popular votes and stuff, I am now starting a whole bunch of different series that literally were not on my TBR, but because I'm reading at least the first book for a series of book clubs, I'm going to commit and bang out these series this year. So the first one is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. I liked this one. I've got a vlog about this one. We meet Lara. Lara's a daughter of a king in a kingdom, and she's basically being married off for a political alliance to King Aaron from the Bridge Kingdom. It's an interesting setup. I think it could have been executed a little bit better towards the end in particular, where the complication and love element comes in, but really cool, and I love this cover. I think one of the strengths of this is I literally had no expectations going in. I hadn't really heard of it before my book club voted to read it, and I am keen to read the rest of them. The next one I'll be starting Daughter of No Worlds, which is from the War of Lost Hearts series by Carissa Broadbent. This is our next month read, so I will be starting this one very shortly. I literally can't tell you what this is about. This is a book club one that was voted. I bought the physical copy because I like annotating my book club book, and so therefore I will be reading it and trying to finish the series this year, so it's ticked off my list. Last one is Serpent of Wings and Night from the Crowns of Nyaxia series by Carissa Broadbent. Carissa was a very popular author for our book club. Again, I can't tell you much about this one. I know there are vampires and some kind of games maybe. I don't really know anything about this, but really keen to get into it. This one was actively on my TBR, so I'm not mad that this one made it onto the list. There's a new release later this year, I believe, so planning to catch up in time for the new release. And this one is a new edition. This is for my weekly book club that I have with my Bookster girls. We're going to be starting The Crimson Moth. Again, I can't really tell you too much about it. I know there's like a witch and a witch hunter. That's all I can tell you. We've been reading Babe books for authors who are attending. Collectively, we kind of came to the judgment that we're just feeling a bit burnt out on indie books that aren't the best written and don't have the best executed plot. Even though we enjoy them more as a result of reading together, we decided to read something that was traditionally published that hopefully has a bit more substance to keep us engaged and keep us reading, particularly because the one we're reading right now, literally no one wants to finish it. So quite keen to get into this one. I think this will be good. I've only technically started one of those, but I have preemptively added them to my in progress list because I will be starting all of these within the next month. We're on the home stretch, my friends. We're on the home stretch. ACOTAR. I literally just have A Court of Silver Flames to go, and it is booked into my schedule like first thing after Babe. I'll be finishing ACOTAR in May, and we'll be commencing Throne of Glass shortly after that. I'll be honest, was not a fan of this first book. I thought it was quite poor, and then Tej, who was the one who recommended me to read this, she was like, please, 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 just please, just please, please keep reading it, just please. And I was like, oh, better be worth it. It was. It was. And so now I get to say to people, like, just continue to ACOMAF. If you don't like ACOMAF, you can stop there. I've really loved each of the books after ACOTAR. A Court of Silver Flames is the one that I'm most excited to read because Nesta and Cassian are my two favourite characters, and they're the main characters of this book. The next one is one that I've preemptively added on the list, so I'm not technically reading this one, but Artifacts of Uranus. A couple of weeks ago, so I think about 3 weeks ago, the book has been on my TBR. I'm interested in it, but like it was everywhere. It kept coming up on Bookstagram, it kept coming up on Booktube. I took it as a sign. Sometimes the universe just tells you it's time to read a book. I feel that way about this one. So I've got the first one, and I'll be reading this one. Probably not April. This is probably going to be part of my May TBR. So yes, I've preemptively added it to the list before I'm actually ready to read it, but it's my list, so I get to make the rules. Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I'm very lucky I have this beautiful edition that I got for free from one of my co-workers. I have only read the first book in this series. I've been wanting to finish it because I very much enjoyed it. It's just one of those ones where I've had other things that are priority. I'll have to reread Caraval before I continue the series, but I'll be doing it next year, and hopefully it means I can pick up the Once Upon a Broken Heart spin-off series as well after that, because I've heard great things about that too. The Folk of the Air series by Holly Black. I have a scar on my wrist from several years ago. I fell ice skating and I broke my wrist. That was when my dad kind of gifted me my first Kindle, and the first book I ever read on my Kindle was The Cruel Prince, and I loved it. I had read Spiderwick Chronicles, which Holly Black helped write when I was a kid, which is just like my favourite depiction of the Fae I've ever seen. And so reading The Cruel Prince, while I was quite high on painkiller drugs, I loved it. And so I can't actually tell if one of the reasons I loved it was because my brain was certainly not working to its full capacity, or because it was genuinely that good. So this is a book series. I've only read the first one. I am planning to go back to this one, and I think one of the reasons that I didn't like ACOTAR as much, I will not take any criticism on this. The Fae in ACOTAR are more elves than they are Fae. The Fae in The Cruel Prince are actually Fae. They're actually cruel, they're actually cunning. It was just more interesting, and the plot was really engaging. So really excited to continue that series. It's one that I'll probably continue next year, just because I've got so many other things on my calendar for this year that I'd like to pick up. Strange the Dreamer. It actually hurts me that I haven't finished this duology. I read this one in 2022 and really struggled for the first 100 pages. I really struggled to read this. The last half was just like one of the best things I've ever read, and it's a duology. It's only 2 books, and for some reason I have it. It's sitting up here. I still haven't picked it up. Can I tell you why? No. I've currently got this scheduled into my January 2026 TBR. I need to read Muse of Nightmares, but I'm gonna need to go back for a reread before I get into that. This was so good. The magic, the world, it was really good. And you should read it. The next series I'm in the middle of, The Bargainer by Laura Thalassa. Again, started it because she was coming to Babe, and then she pulled out, which is just like, I understand that authors have lives and they're allowed to make those decisions, but it's so frustrating when like you're reading specifically towards an event. I bought the physical books just so that I could get them signed. Anyway, the reason I picked this up, so our main girl Callie, apparently she's a siren. Siren didn't really have any part of the book from my memory. This was okay. I don't have like strong positive or negative opinions on this one. This was okay. I'm planning to read the rest of this series through April via audiobook as I sew my dress that I will be wearing to Babe. So even though she's not coming anymore, she still very much gets to be part of my preparation for Babe. You know what, I'm not even going to show you the next one. The next one I'm literally finishing for book club and I don't even like the book, so we're not going to talk about it because I'm going to DNF that series. The last one, again, I haven't technically started it, but I will be starting it soon. It's the Deepwater series by Emma Hamm. It's truly a surprise to me that I haven't started reading this, but I want to so bad because it is like a steampunk fantasy starring mermen. I don't need to know anything else. I don't actually know what the plot's about. I know it's a romance with these hotties. I'll be reading this later this year. And then last on my list again is like only technically on the list. I haven't even opened the book, but it's the next series that I'm reading, and it's the Lady of Darkness series by Melissa K. Rorich. Did I say that right? I don't know. But just found out that she's coming to Babe, and this is a series that's been on my TBR. Having literally just finished the Kingdom of Lies series, there is a vlog that will be coming later on this channel for you to watch for me reading that whilst I had COVID. This is the next series that I'll be reading, so plan to read the first 3 that are out in the traditionally published format and then continue the series as it's released later this year. So this is just 16 of those 28 series that I need to try and read so that I can continue to read more series. Can I put these down without hurting myself? So thank you for watching what is no doubt just an hour of me talking about the series that I'm in the middle of reading. I am barely balancing these 16 books. Thank you so much for spending your time watching my video. I hope you got to know me a little bit better. If you want to stick around, I've got a vlog coming for me reading the Kingdom of Lies series. So you should stick around and watch me because I had COVID and it sucked, but the books were great. Make sure you're subscribed if you want to see that. Stick around, hit the like button, and I'll see you next time. Bye!